Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Just want to make sure everything's good, guys, because we got issues over at Elon Musk land.
Yes, we do. There's something very, very silly going on.
So we see geomagnetic storm recently deployed Starlink satellites were damaged because of this storm. At least that's what we are being told. On Thursday, February 3rd, at 1:13 p.m., Falcon 9 launched 49 Starlink satellites to low Earth orbit from Launch Complex 39A, LC-39A at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Falcon 9's second stage deployed the satellites to their intended orbit with a perigee approximately 210 kilometers above Earth. Each satellite achieved control flight. SpaceX deployed its satellites into these lower orbits so that in a very rare case any satellite does not pass initial systems checkouts, it will quickly be deorbited by atmospheric drag. While the low deployment altitude requires more capable satellites at a considerable cost to us, this is from their own website, by the way, it's the right thing to do to maintain a sustainable space environment. Unfortunately, the satellites deployed on Thursday were significantly impacted by a geomagnetic storm on Friday. These storms caused the atmosphere to warm and atmospheric density at our low deployment altitudes to increase. In fact, onboard GPS suggests that the escalation speed and severity of the storm caused atmospheric drag to increase up to 50% higher than during the previous launches. The Starlink team commanded the satellites into a safe mode where they could fly edge on like a sheet of a paper to minimize drag to effectively take cover from the storm, and continue to work closely with the Space Force's 18th Space Control Squadron and LEO Labs to provide updates on the satellites based on ground radars. Preliminary analysis showed the increased drag at lower altitudes prevented the satellites from leaving safe mode to begin orbit-raising maneuvers, and up to 40 of the satellites will re-enter or already have re-entered the Earth's atmosphere. The deorbiting satellites pose zero collision risk with other satellites and by design demise upon atmospheric re-entry, meaning no orbital debris is created and no satellite parts hit the ground. This unique situation demonstrates the great lengths that the Starlink team has gone to ensure the system is on the leading edge of orbit debris mitigation. So, yeah, back then we did have, some storms that were impacting. Actually, things are pretty quiet now. We've seen the KP really only go up to 5, so, not so huge, so to speak. And here you see the solar proton flux right now is pretty steady. We have some small flares of the C-class, but you're talking about a few days ago. At the same time, it just feels a little bit off to me, because, again, if it wasn't anything that massive and and they end up losing 40 satellites or so, it just feels a little bit weird. Mm-hmm. And so we asked Cindy to check with the guides, and because of human free will, they didn't give us a definitive answer. They just gave her a feeling.
Right. So I get these vibrations, and it's up to me to unpack them and translate them for you guys. So in that sense, translation could be, pardon me, it could be off. But what these satellites were going to do is they were going to cause quite a lot of harm to the human population in a war type of scenario. Thus, they had the right to execute these satellites, for us. So that's what we're getting. And, even if you look at this, it just doesn't feel right. You feel something behind it, but that's the feeling that's coming in, that this was done for us.
And of course, we've listened to statements coming from Russia and from Putin, and again, talking about the NUKESs. There were real tests upon the Earth. It's so funny how you always get people on every edge of the spectrum. There are people that will make comments and saying, "You really think nuclear weapons exist? Ha ha ha." Like, wake up, they don't exist. But they do exist, and they have existed going into the deep past, as Oppenheimer had alluded to when we had that first modern day explosion And they asked him about it, and, he basically made reference, well, yeah, this is the first one in the modern age, but we've had them in the past. And again, people will say, why do the galactics allow even the testing to go on? Again, there's this fine line between, allowing free will amongst humans, but yet maintaining the stability of other beings' lives on other densities, because these weapons do affect other densities. It's a very fine line, and when you have somebody that's trying to toe that line, it's kind of like a fight you can imagine, like a prize fight, a MMA battle. And it's almost like, when you look at WWE and you got one guy that's the good guy. He does everything by the rules, by the book, because he's the good guy. And then you have the other one that's the heel, the bad guy, the villain, ha ha ha. And when the ref isn't looking, he does everything he could that's wrong. It doesn't matter. He'll do anything. Grab the old chair, clunk him over the head. Oh, I didn't grab that chair. And it's kind of like that in a way, is what we have going on in the higher realms around us.
Right. You got a lot of that back and forth going on in many different ways. Ultimately, what is supposed to happen is free will. We are supposed to make our decisions based on free will, and that's how we grow stronger. That's how we expand as a human entity. So there are situations that we might not understand where they're allowed to do these certain things to keep us protected. So with that was the information I was given to translate for you guys.
So the question comes up, why does what we perceive as evil exist? Why is it allowed to exist? Again, this is, in some ways, it's just all about growth. The greatest growth comes through the most hardest trials.
Right. Well, when you're down and out in life and things are really, really tough, it's actually in those moments is where you find out how strong you actually are. It's when you get up from a really horrible fall. It's when you win, you get something for yourself. You've earned that. And in that's a lot of growth. So it's really important for human expansion. There has to be duality for expansion.
Mm-hmm. It's all about perception again. It's about how we perceive things. And, they've made reference to the fact before, the guides have said clearly, we don't want to take away what you are in the process of earning through our trials, our tribulations, and how we respond to them.
Right. It's like, a kid has a test at school, but, the parents want them to do good, so they make sure and give them the answers. It'd be like that.
Yeah, exactly. So you have some people that will make comments out there and say, well, why don't they just come and fix it all for us? Because, again, it's just like that. It's like cheating at the test. You don't really gain when you cheat at the test. This is a test for us. This is a test that we are here to see how we're going to act. Are we going to rise above? Are we going to be in service to others? Are we going to be basically lending out our hand to everybody that has fallen overboard, trying to pull them up on the life raft? Or are we simply going to perhaps go the opposite route and take the oar and push them away because we're trying to just take care of ourselves?
Mm-hmm. Right. So it is a matter of us coming together, healing ourselves and bringing our heart chakras together and creating a whole new scenario, creating a whole new system. We really need to eliminate the whole entire system and come up with something that's ours, that we built together with our free will.
Yeah, it's organic. And, again, this is such a deep spiritual battle on so many levels that we find ourselves within. And if we can, again, wake up those that are so deeply entrenched in forcing the system of control, in a way, that is kind of saving souls. We don't have to save souls in a dogmatic point of view. But again, when we recognize that there is this law of cause and effect out there, and for every action that we do, there is this reaction where Again, works of charity, works of selflessness and love and compassion can go such a long way. So when Yeshua is quoted as saying, somebody slaps you on one cheek instead of, pulling out your sword and beheading him. No, he says, turn the other cheek. Again, it's for you. It's really for you. But in you doing this, again, you are helping others. You're providing an example. And I wanted to pull up more about the Bhagavad Gita, and we were asking about, did the conversation truly happen between Arjuna and Krishna right before the battlefield? Because again, the guides always refer to these things as stories and parables. And were they literal? Not exactly. Not exactly. It's for our learning. It's so we can understand. And that's why Yeshua taught in parables, partly because, again, the censorship was there. Even in that time, the censorship existed, and you were, in the belly of the beast with the Roman Empire, so to speak. So you had to kind of teach in parables, otherwise, could end up with your demise. And the same thing again with, the different persecutions that we've had, burning the witches, etc., etc. And again, there's so many misconceptions where, some people will think of the people that were burned as a witch as really casting evil spells over others and things like that. No, they were simply, most of these people had nothing to do with what you would perceive as witchcraft. Most of it was just a hysteria. And a lot of people were just, randomly, arbitrarily called a witch, so to speak, because other people were angry at them or coveted what they had, and just it was an easy thing they could pick on at that point in time because of the phobia that was out there over quote-unquote witches. And then many people were just herbalists, or they were living in tune with nature, and they understood things that the masses didn't because they were under the God spell.
Right. They understood things. They knew how it worked out in the ether, and they knew that our spirits and our souls can actually reach out and do cause and effect. They can actually reach out and create situations and scenarios that are favorable, for, say, you. So they didn't want anyone to know of these hidden talents. And a lot of people have them, but what they don't have is they don't have the knowledge and the understanding on how to grow this light body and how to grow your light body so that you're really effective out in the ether. But that's what we want to teach. We want to give people these understandings that have been hidden from us for a long time.
Absolutely. And we see all's quiet on the Schumann. Boy, that's pretty mellow and pretty quiet right now. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of, it's interesting to see just how quiet it is. And again, a lot of people are feeling this building. A lot of people are feeling irritability that they're not used to feeling. A lot of people are feeling very, very tired and lethargic, sleeping a ton as well. And so we have a meteor, fireball, or something else over Texas and other southern states, and you can watch in the video, it's way, way in the distance shooting over there. There are quite a few other fireballs that have been going on a regular basis. This was also seen in Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma. Felt more like a ship to me. And hidden magnitude 8.2 quake sourced the mysterious 2021 global tsunami. So scientists have uncovered a source of a mysterious 2021 tsunami that sent waves around the globe. In August 2021, a 7.5 quake hit near South Sandwich Islands, creating a tsunami that rippled around the globe. The epicenter was 47 kilometers below the Earth's surface, too deep to initiate a tsunami, and the rupture was nearly 400 kilometers long, which should have generated a much larger earthquake. They were puzzled. They sought to understand what really happened that day in the remote South Atlantic. And a new study revealed the quake wasn't a single event, but 5, a series of subquakes spread out over several minutes. The third subquake was shallower, and it was a slower 8.2 quake that hit just 15 kilometers. So this was what caused that tsunami. And again, we're finding this out, not quite a long time later. And it just points out to what we all kind of know. We don't trust anything that comes out of NASA, really, NOAA, or USBS.
Right. You're right. So hence we need to learn how to read the energies for ourselves.
And we have electromagnetic tug of war lighting up Jupiter's upper atmosphere, and these are a sign of the changing times that we have, with the changing influences of the energy of the proton belt as the photon belt. As we get deeper into the photon belt, everything is changing.
Right. We're going to have a lot more information coming at us, and this is what's creating our evolution and our understanding. And this is what's happening with Jupiter, but this is across the board. I mean, all the planets are changing in their own way with these new energies, and this is what we have here.
And we got some fascinating info that's Earth related that we were talking about late last night with the guides that we'll touch on in upcoming videos, because again, our history is completely hidden, and we have this surrogate history which is not accurate at all. And of course, it's purposely done that way. And it's interesting too, because they talk about Io, which is one of the moons of Jupiter, and Io is almost a twin of the moon. And then we've gotten from the guides that our moon was put here back in the Younger Dryas times, 12,000-ish years ago, and it was put here by the Anunnaki, and that's what caused the 23.5-degree tilt of the Earth's axis. And before it was put here, things were much more harmonious, and we didn't have the storms, we didn't have the cataclysms that we have now because of the moon being put here. And the moon was originally from the orbit of Jupiter, and Io again is very, very similar in size.
Yeah, it's very similar in size, very similar in many different ways.
And we have a growing number of casualties. Excuse me, I'm starting to lose my voice.
Yeah, we got a growing number of casualties caused by the tropical cyclone Bitchute. Very, very sorry. I'm not as good at saying things. Mike had to leave the room just for a second. You guys hang with me. Increased to 21 in Madagascar. So if we can, please extend our well wishes and our heartfelt emotions out to the people who've been affected, and that's what we really need to be doing in these times, because this is they've lost everything. And if we sit with that for just a minute and hold some of that pain for them, this gives them a little bit of release or relief. So let's do that for these folks. This is so sad.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, I felt like I was going to have a coughing fit, but it didn't materialize. And we have a large landslide, and this is in Colombia, and again, triggered by massive rains, which we've seen all around the globe. So again, good idea to send prayers that way. And we have dangerously hot conditions in Los Angeles in February. And what we were saying just yesterday was the tendency is going to be towards cold, but you're going to see wild swings. And so again, we can't let up. And of course, the West is having this drought condition, which is not really getting let up on at all. So we can all start doing our rain dances for the West anyway. And shaken by fracking quakes, Texas is forced to act. You get used to it. No, I don't know. I guess you do. Maybe you don't. I didn't like the feeling in Nevada when we were constantly getting quakes. It most definitely always felt off to me. When you look at what has been done to Texas, just get on Google Earth and you'll be stunned by the amount of fracking wells all over the place. I mean, all over the place. And Texas geopolitically is a place that is drawing in a lot of different people, also just for economic opportunity. Yet it's been set up like a ticking time bomb with these fracking quakes. And Oklahoma, we see pretty good sized quakes coming to Oklahoma, and it's always getting quakes every single day. These are things that are very detrimental to Mother Earth.
They are. And, even we've been looking at land here and there again. And sometimes when you pull out, the viewer, you can see, oh shoot, there's these little fracking places here and there by that land, and that's going to contaminate the water. So this is becoming really widespread. It's so sad.
Absolutely. So we want to thank you guys for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. We couldn't do it without you guys. Please do check out Medicinal Foods as well. Use coupon code EEA, get a discount off your order. It does support the channel. Lots of good stuff here to help you with detoxing, also boosting your immune system. We definitely need that in these times. Stay prepared out there. Much love. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.